Hey guys, Cloud here, and today we will be covering scoping in the series. I know that it's been a couple of days, but I've been really busy. But anyways, let's get started. This is the end result we're going to have. The gun moves to the middle of the screen when you crouch, and you get a little zoom in. And that's pretty much all we're going to do for the scoping, but we'll probably later, when we add stats that relate to like accuracy, we'll probably make it so you have better accuracy when scoping. Of course, there are some downsides, and we'll discuss like the different ways that you could implement scoping, but this was the one that was the most the most flexible and non-impactful or intrusive on the game. Now, obviously, I'm not physically scoping, I'm iron sighting, which is why the title's Iron Sights as scopes, but scopes would be very similar. You just would use a 3D model of an actual scope on your sniper, or just 3D model overlay. There's a lot of different ways you can implement it, and we'll go ahead and discuss that, but it'll probably be left to you in terms of coming up with the way that you want to implement scoping other than iron sighting, because iron sighting is obviously just moving the model. Scoping is like putting a whole texture on the screen, and there's a lot of very intrusive methods but easy and effective methods. So the first thing we're going to do is go into this gun resource pack that we made, and we're going to go into gun models item and AK. So we're gonna make a copy of this and call it AK-47, and then we'll just call it _ iron sights. Okay, so then inside this folder or file, in the very bottom, there is some data about how it is displayed to the player. We just need to copy this data, okay, and then just Control-A, delete, and create some new braces. So we're gonna say the parent, or the thing that this model copies its information from, is gun : AK-47. And then the modifications are the things that we put here, which is the display modifications. The display modifications, we just need first person right hand, so we can get rid of everything else. And yeah, that should be good. And we're going to modify it so that instead of being at -2, it's gonna be -9. Okay, so that's pretty good so far. Now let's go into our assets, Minecraft models item, ender eye, and copy this line here, add a comma at the end, because every list has a comma, but not a comma for the last element. That is how lists work. So we're going to do iron sights and give it a data of 2. So it doesn't like what I did here because it can't find it. So the reason is the parent needs to be item. It's an item folder. And then the other problem is I called it iron sights, plural. So F3T. And this kind of stuff will happen frequently. So this is it in the middle of the screen, obviously shifted upwards because it's not, it doesn't have the thing we implemented last time for the attack speed. But that attack speed implementation was important because when we swap these models, we don't want it to bob. Although you may want it to bob, but I mean, at least in this case, but most of the time you want to be able to control whether it bobs or not. Okay, so let's go ahead and get rid of these. And now we have to add some code. Okay, so the first thing is we're going to open up a init, and then we're going to open up main _ player. We're going to add a new scoreboard yet again, sadly, and it will be scoreboard objectives add sneak dummy. And you may be wondering, why is sneak a dummy? And we'll figure that out soon enough. We're gonna be using a predicate to detect sneaking because it will be more controllable that way. So now we're going to do scoreboard players operation dot sneak gun equals @s sneak. So this kind of copies what the previous ticks was so that we can manipulate it. Scoreboard players set @s sneak 0. Okay, and then we need to establish how this sneak gets put on there. So we're gonna make a new folder titled predicates, and then we're going to go to misode. So on misode.github.io, we're going to create a predicate, and this will be type specific predicate for players, and we'll add a flag for sneaking, although I don't think we need this type specific. Okay, so this will give us the sneaking predicate, and we just download that, move that into our folder, rename that is sneaking, okay? And then we're going to go back to our player main and go execute if score.id gun matches at least 1, which means you are holding some gun. We don't need to check it otherwise, and it is actually ID on the stats. So let's do that on the stats. Then if predicate gun : is sneaking, right? That was our Yep, that's our syntax. Run function gun input slash sneak. Okay, so then we will go functions, input, and we will have sneak here. Then we will do say sneak. Okay, so now when I hold the gun and sneak, it spams the word sneak. Okay, good, good, good. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to do scoreboard players set at s sneak 1. Okay, so this means that in this tick or in the previous tick, I was sneaking. Okay, and then we're going to do effect give at s slowness true. And there we go. So that is going to be slowness for 1 second, but a strength of 100. And you can control the strength. I think the zoom is not, like, there are limits to the zoom. Like, the zoom is going to be more the more you have. But obviously there's a limit. Okay, so here's our slowness. We'll go a slowness of 10. It doesn't really matter. And then what we need to do is go back into here. And now we have to remove the slowness. So execute if score sneak gun matches 1, which means the previous tick we were sneaking. If score at s sneak matches 0, which means this tick we didn't sneak, then run function gun colon, and then we'll just put it in input. So input slash unsneak. Okay, so this is just the opposite of sneaking. I guess it's not really accurate to put it in input, but since sneak is here, then I guess unsneak can be here too. So then we'll do effect clear at s slowness. So this will make it so that we don't have to wait for that 1 second to be up. We will just be able to run immediately. It'll clear up right away, which is what we want. Okay, so now we have to actually change the model, and this is where we're going to have some fun with predicates, or sorry, not predicates. We're gonna have some fun with item modifiers. So the item modifier we're going to do is going to be copy MBT, and we're going to copy MBT from the storage. We're gonna copy, the storage will be gun, the MBT operations will be replace, and the MBT will take from custom model data to custom model data. Okay, and then we're going to copy or download this, go back into our item modifiers, and go ahead and slap that in there. And this will be set CMD, which is custom model data. Then we're going to go into here, and this is where we need to edit some of the information here. So we're going to add some stats to this. So we're going to go stats, and the stats is going to have a MBT called CMD, which is our original custom model data that we remember. That's how we remember what the gun is supposed to have. And in this case, 1. So in this case, 1. Okay. Then when we go into sneak, we are going to go data modify storage gun custom model data set from entity at s selected item.tag.stats.custom model data. So that's what you would do just to copy it straight up. And that's actually what we're going to do in unsneak. This is how we return. And then we are going to do item modify entity at s weapon.mainHand. And then we are going to use gun colon set CMD. All right, so I probably cut a lot, but because of the way that I implemented the item modifier, I need to add the stats into here because it copies the stats and replaces them. So it's replacing whatever stats I put up there. So if I go like this, and then I go like this, and then I go like this, now I have the stats that I need. Okay, so now if I grab this and change this from custom model data to CMD, okay? So I'm pulling from custom model data, but abbreviated. Then I go ahead and run this item modifier. My item will not change because it has the same thing. Now to decrement it, we actually do a little trick, and that's going to be pretty cool here. So we're gonna go into this, copy it, and then inside sneak, we're going to apply this correctly. But instead of doing this, we need to increment it because the iron sight will be at value 1 and 2, and the original is at value 1. So to do that, we're going to use this instead. And what this is it's similar to copying this onto here, But instead, what you're doing is you're copying the value that the player has, like the tag, which in our case is 1. We scale it by negative 1.0000001, and that makes it negative 1.00001. And then we store it as negative 1, but as an integer. So when you convert it to an integer, the floor of negative 1.00001 times negative 1, that is actually equal to 2. Because for negative numbers, when you floor them, they will go to the next highest, or aka the next lowest value. And that's kind of a little shortcut if you just need to increment by 1. Otherwise, we have to copy the value, subtract 1 on a scoreboard, and copy it back, which is a little bit annoying. So we're going to hit reload, and then we're going to crouch. And let me just go ahead and change this because I changed the syntax here to custom model data. And when I crouch, it zooms in just like that. Of course, it's way more powerful of an effect than I had in the other. So let me just do like slowness of 3. And now it's more like what we had before. There you go. If you may need to fine tune some of the 3D model characteristics to move the gun like closer to the player, in this case it's kind of far forward, you can mess with those properties. But other than that, that's it for scoping. It was a little bit long. Hopefully you guys were able to follow the kind of key things here. Is you make a new 3D model and you use an item modifier to change the custom model data based on some thing that you saved on a storage. And then there's that little increment trick. And you can also do a decrement trick. Anyways, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.